Yo, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? Alright, so basically today what I wanted to do was go through and give you guys an update with what's going on with Solos. Many of you, if you at least visit the website for Solos, are probably aware of what some of the things that I'm already talking about. But what I want to do is go through and create a video and talk about a couple of things. So the first thing is what's going on with Solos. So Solos is still in development. It's still going strong at this point. But what's going on with it and why I have not released version 3 is because I am going through and rectifying a lot of mistakes that I made from the initial 2 versions of the distribution. So I went through and created Solos for a couple of reasons. First off, I just there wasn't really distribution that had the package selection that I wanted, right? Secondly, they didn't have the themes that I wanted. Thirdly, it just didn't feel like my own OS in a sense, and so I wanted to create something like that. I went in creating Solos to fill all those needs, but in addition to learn. I literally went in to learn because I wanted to learn further about Linux and the Unix systems and the environments and how it handles and what are the files and settings that I work with and blah blah blah. It was all about learning and getting a distribution out of it so that I can use it and enjoy it and be proud of it and blah blah blah, right? So with that being said, though, I did not approach the build process very well. I did some automations, but I did a lot of heavy lifting on physically moving files back and forth and doing all these other things. So at this point, that has got to stop. I do not want to dedicate my time to doing repetition or repetitive tasks when I build Solos. When I want to do a new distribution release of Solos, I want it to be as painless as possible, i.e. I want to be able to basically automate a good chunk of the process. That doesn't mean that I won't physically go, working with the files and directory structures itself. It's just simply I don't want to do that if I don't have to. With version 3, I am literally right now setting up the scaffolding for the build process. So at this point, I actually have some shell scripts or a shell script that has automated the process massively for building Solos, and that shell script really is more about dealing with the external parts of Solos, rather for the notion of the ISO. So what it will do is take a Ubuntu Mini ISO, it'll uncompress it, or it'll take the ISO, mount it, copy over the files, create the directory structure, unswashfs the file system, and then from there create run a chroot instance, and then allow me to go through and run another shell script and then go through and automate the process. So really what I'm doing right now is creating automations, okay, and that's what I've been doing a lot of. I've not really even been doing builds of Solos in as much as I've been testing automation processes so that I can build Solos very quickly and rapidly in terms of developing a new distribution. That doesn't mean Solos is going to release with a new version every 2 months or anything like that. It's at this point though something that's going to simplify my life and the intent of why I even created Solos, which was to learn, and I've even learned further about how to manage and build distributions just by doing this as well, right? But that's a big chunk of it. I've been working on automation for Solos, okay? So I would say at this point that I'm probably at the halfway mark for the build automation processing, okay? So I have the external scripts. Now I need to have some internal scripts to actually build the distribution, to flesh out the system, and that's what I'm now working on. Okay, so I have a script that kind of does that, but it's not sufficient, and it's not gonna work. It's just not going to work for me at this point to continue to use that particular script. I'm basically gutting the script, taking the best parts of it, and working to create a new script that'll go through and help me build the system better and more easily, and etc. etc. Okay, so that's part of it. That's one reason why I have not released version 3 of Solos, is because frankly I don't have I refuse to basically do the heavy lifting physically. I want it to be pretty automated in many instances. It's not that I won't go into the directory structure like I think I've said before, it's just that I'm minimizing it now. I'm doing a whole revamping of how I want to approach the build process of Solos, okay? The next reason why I haven't done the basically third release of Solos is that I am looking at how I want to present Solos. Right now, Solos version 3 is going to be using the Mate desktop environment, okay? But I need to now think about how I want it to theme, okay? So the skinning of Solos, basically, right? And I'm having some difficulties in terms of automating the theming selection for that. So what I want to do is ask you guys and gals who use Solos or who just simply like input to give me recommendations for 4 dark themes and 2 light themes, okay? Now, with that being said, it must be 4 dark and 2 light. Obviously, though, you can recommend as many themes as you want. So as long as that they're meeting the criteria that I have, I can select of them 4 dark and 2 light. Okay. On top of that, we're talking about themes. I'm talking about the menu themes like the darkness or the grays and all that. That's what I'm talking about. On top of that, I need icon sets, and so that's also plays into the theming aspects of Solos. These icon sets need to work well with, preferably the themes themselves will just come with, the icon sets already. But I need an easier way to go through and handle icon sets. So I need a selection of icon sets. Okay, so preferably at least 4 icon sets. Okay, I'm not going to go above 6 in terms of packaging it with Solos because icon sets and theme sets, etc., are pretty large. Or they're not large. It's just they take up more room than I necessarily want them to. They want you guys get what I'm trying to say, I think. Okay, so that I'm now going through and looking at the theming of Solos and how Solos is going to look. Okay, so I need that from you guys as well. I need recommendations for 4 dark themes and 2 light themes. You can recommend as many themes as you want, so as long as that they're really good themes, and in addition, hopefully have PPAs, so that I can really just simply add the PPA archive, update, and then download the icon sets or theme sets and just off to the races. Okay, preferably. I'm looking at going through and of course creating a script that'll go through and handle unpacking icon theme or themes and unpacking them, copying them over, etc. And I'm not even looking at it. It's pretty much already it's pretty much slated for being designed or created. I just have yet to do it. Okay, so I'm looking at theming. I'm looking at the icon sets. I also need from you all a recommendation of 10 images to package with Solos. Okay. Now, these 10 images, for the criteria of them, must be 1920 by 1080, and these 10 images must be space themed. Okay. Solos is a very spacey type operating system. That was pretty much the intention from the get-go. That's even in the name, Sol-OS, the sun systems and all that. You guys get my point. There's a lot of wordplay within the operating system's name as well. So I need 10 images that you all would like to see in the or recommendations for images that you all would like to see in the operating system. And I will then, of course, select of the recommendations the 10 that that I think are the best for Solos. Why am I asking this? This is one of the reasons is I want to get more of an input from those who actually use Solos. Now, it's still going to be heavily my decision on what I use and what we have in Solos and blah, blah, blah. I created the operating system for myself personally. I'm now releasing, obviously, or I have released it to the public so that, others can enjoy my work and others can enjoy what I like and blah, 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 right? But I want to get more of a kind of community going on around Solos. I want to have more of an interaction with the people who actually use Solos. I want more input from the people who use Solos as well. And all that I ask for that input is that it needs to be either space themed and or when let's say you request for a program to be packaged with Solos, that program you have to look at it from the objective standpoint of how large is it feature rich, and does it run quickly or not? And I know it's a little weird to like that's kind of a little weird. It's just that's an idea of what is the best bang for buck in a sense. Is this program that you want in Solos best bang for buck? Is it too big? Is it too small? Possibly too small in the sense of feature sets, etc. So feature sets, the more feature sets it has, but the smaller size it is always great in my opinion. That's one of the goals of Solos is to provide a very feature rich environment. I mean, that's why, I package Calibra with it, because people like reading. I package, what I want to package is a good movie player, etc., etc. You guys get my point, okay? So that's another thing that's kind of been slowing down with Solos, is the idea of where I want Solos's theming to go as well. I want to keep it space themed, and I want to keep it a darker themed. Like I said, I want 2 light themes and 4 dark themes, so that it's, we can still satisfy those who want lighter themes. That's what I want for Solos at this point, and I'm having issues in a sense finding the most optimal themes as well as their icon sets. So if you guys do recommend any packages or themes, please make sure that it has an icon set to go with it, because I think that'll simplify the process a little bit for basically packaging the system without having to do too much work on the background aspect of it. Okay. In addition to the theming and the imaging and all that, I've been actually looking at the package selection for Solos. I've been really looking at where Solos is going, and I want to go through and I want to shrink Solos. I think Solos is getting a lot larger than it should be. I know it's a little weird. People are like, oh, but Ubuntu is like 1.4 gigabytes and as a full desktop download and all that. I'm like, I understand that. I completely understand that. So there are going to be there's going to be either 2 ways that this will be handled for Solos. Either there will be quote unquote one desktop version for Solos, and then there will be one slim version for Solos, or I just keep Solos slim. Preferentially, I'd much rather keep just Solos slim. And when I'm talking about slim, I'm talking about size. And the reason why I want to keep Solos in smaller size is because it's just easier. The way I kind of look at it is from the notion that it's going to help older computers, etc., be able to run Solos. So, they may not have the best USB ports to run, blah, so they need to use a CD. I'm really looking at it from the standpoint of I want to keep Solos the size of a CD. And that's about 700 megabytes, right? And at this point, even then, currently Solos is not about 700 megabytes. It's actually like 720 or 760 approximately. I don't recall, but it's around that size. Is that it's currently around 720 to 760 megabytes. So it needs to be reduced by 60 megabytes, right? And so that makes me really look at what programs I'm packaging with Solos and whether or not they are needed. Which also then brings me up to my next point, which is that I'm looking at also how do I want Solos to actually function and work. I mentioned that Solos is currently using Mate, the Mate desktop environment. Okay, what I eventually want to do is actually not necessarily not use Mate in as much as, let's say, literally use only the core parts of Mate. So that may be, for instance, of course, the window management, Marco, I think it is. So that may be just basically using Marco. From there, what do I want to do is, what I want to do basically I'm looking at or thinking about is creating my own kind of desktop environment of a sort, okay, which will mean its own like a different form of panel work and a different form of icon displays and even then a different form of maybe background displays. So having pre-built in place the notion of animated backgrounds as well as simply imaging, right? That's not going to happen in Solus version 3, but it's something that I have to think about when I'm also developing the scaffolding for creating solos. And so this is just, it's a big process. I'm now kind of taking solos a lot more seriously, and I want to look at it, from every aspect, how I want to proceed with solos. So that's also in place. I'm looking at now thinking about how to create my own programs for solos, i.e. whether it be written in Java or C++ or whatever. Some people may roll their eyes if they hear Java. I personally really like Java, I'm just going to say, guys. So I may do a lot more programs built for Solos in Java as a means of, kind of reducing the weight in some areas, etc. Okay? So that's really what I wanted to talk to you guys about. I'm literally going through and just working to get Solos to be the best that it can be, and to frankly also expand my abilities and knowledge regarding just distribution building in general. I approached it in a really haphazard manner for the first two distributions, and now I'm looking at seriously how to, work and improve it quickly without having to do as much work. And obviously the work that I'm talking about is, of course, just back and forth copying directory structures and editing the files and blah blah blah, and you guys get my point, So that's what's going on. And yeah, so at this point, what it is, this video is an explanation of what's going on for Sol-OS version 3, and then a call to you all to give me theme recommendations, background recommendations, and icon recommendations, etc., as well as recommendations for what programs you want to see in Sol-OS. And all of this, like I say, I want to emphasize that it's all going to be taken under consideration. I don't guarantee whether or not they will be used. I'm just saying. Okay, it's just, I want to honestly be open. I'm going to say, I want this to be more of a collaborative process, but I still retain the right to the right to decide the final decision. Obviously, but I just want to emphasize that so there are no hard feelings if I don't select something. I may say, hey, that's a really great selection. I don't think at this point that this is the best for Sol-OS, but that's a cool selection, or that's a cool recommendation, and I'm glad at least now I have that in my sphere of knowledge to possibly think about it in the later distributions, etc., etc., etc. Okay. In addition to all of this, for my request for help and just giving you an explanation of what's going on, I want to talk about the next release of Sol-OS. I know of at least one YouTube viewer, and I think user of Sol-OS anyway, who is asking when is the next distribution coming out. So I want to talk about the next distribution release, or a time frame. I don't really personally want to give a time frame. As you guys may be able to notice, this is a really intensive process, and so this is, it's one of those things that's just, it's kind of a play-by-ear process. I want to kind of give an expected good time frame of where one may expect the next release of Sol-OS to occur. At this point, I am looking to release Sol-OS by either late this year or early next year. So late December or early January. Okay, that's what I want to do at this point. This will all depend on a couple of things, but one of them being, of course, the package selection. That is dependent upon the package selection too, but it's dependent upon, of course, theming. I know it's a little silly, but it's one sense it's like I have to think about the theming as well and how Sol-OS will look, because certain packages may not play well with the theming that is provided, and I have to go through and do kind of a lot of testing with it as well. Okay, so there's a lot of effort that goes into basically building the distribution in the sense of aesthetically pleasing and usability and all these other things, and that's that's an intensive process when I don't really have themes in mind yet. Okay, and that's why right now I'm asking or making a call out for you guys to help me out and give me recommendations for that. Okay, so that's, like I said, my expected time frame is either late this year, late December, or early January. That's my expected time frame, and then from there we'll just play it by ear. It could be sooner, and it could be later. I fully I want to emphasize that this is not a hard set time frame, but with my expectations for how often I can get to work on Sol-OS in terms of the shell scripts that I'm creating, the scaffolding that I'm creating, etc., that's my expected time frame. Okay, so anyone who's asking me when is Sol-OS coming out, I will just point you guys to this update video to explain what's going on, because I really want to get Sol-OS out for everyone who wants it to come out. I want that version to come out as soon as possible, but I'm now having to go through and do this the right way, in a sense, and not even in a sense. I have to now do it if not necessarily the right way, definitely the simpler way and the better way. Okay, I don't know. I'm now completely forgot if I actually talked about updating of Sol-OS. I'm also looking at updates on how Sol-OS will roll. I don't know if I completely forgot if I actually talked about this at all. But just as a quick mention as well, I'm also looking at how I want Sol-OS to update. So from version 2 to 3, how will Sol-OS handle that, right? And that's also something that I'm looking at, and I want people's input on this. I actually would like input on that as well. Yeah, cool. Okay, if I hadn't asked for it, I'm asking for it now. I need some recommendations for how one thinks Solos should do its updating process. I mean, we already have the updates in place for, just the general program updates, but how does one think it should be handled from the standpoint of the other processes of updates, like background selections, maybe desktop setups, etc. I need some recommendations for how to handle that as well. I have a couple of ideas, but I'm still doing kind of research and looking at how best it's going to apply for me, and so I need some recommendations for that too. Okay, so yeah, guys, this concludes my video. I just wanted to go through and do an update as well as a call for help. Remember, it's theming for dark and too light. Like I said, you can recommend as many themes as you want, just simply as long as it's more heavily dark themed minded, as well as those themes are complete, and i.e. icon sets as well as mice sets, right, etc. And of course the background imaging, etc. Thank you for watching. Don't need to rate, subscribe, or anything like that, since the people who are watching this are probably my subscribers. But if you are a person who's come to my channel and all that, definitely rate and subscribe if you're interested. I would definitely like input from people who have not seen my YouTube videos. This is a collaborative process now that I'm pushing for a more collaborative process. So I hope to get some input from you guys, and I really, much rather than anything like a like. I know it may be simple to just go ahead and like the video. Please leave a comment. I mean, if anything that you do for this video, please leave a comment and ideas. That's it. I really am asking you guys to please leave a comment and suggestions and tips, and even then just give me some input. Give me input on what you would like to see, etc. And then we'll go from there. See you later, guys.